Hello, I'm David with Arch Glove Services, and I'm going to be taking you through a step-by-step process of how I make one of my cases. This is going to be a Naruto case for a customer. Here you got the Hidden Leaf Village symbol. It's going to be the cutout on the case. We're going to have some green lights underneath it. And we're also going to have a small symbol on the controller and on the kinect. We got some leaves. He'd like some leaves blowing across the case. I'm going to airbrush those using stencils. Okay, here we got some stencils that I already cut out with my vinyl plotter. We got the big one. This is going to be for the cutout on the case. Just lay this across the case and cut it out where the white is. A small one for the kinect. This could be a paint stencil. Just take this, put it over top of it, and paint over that. And this is going to be the symbol for the controller. And for the base coat, it's going to be a airbrushed wood grain. Now, this is a quick job, quick sample. Of course, the final product will look a lot better than this. There we go, we got the case. And one thing I like to do is, before I lay my stencil down, I like to know where the screw holes are going to be. What I do is I over tighten a screw or the bolt into the case to where it pops out a little bit. It's a little bubble. Easily be sanded down after you do your cutout. That way when you put your stencil down for cutting, you will know to avoid that spot. And peel all these ribs off. It gets in the way of the cutting tool. Alright, here we go. We got the stencil laid out. Okay, and this, I'm going to be cutting out the white part. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I had to do another bolt because this was getting awful close to what that bolt hole was, so I had to over torque this bolt also to raise up a little bump so I knew where to put the stencil. You use the cutting tool, do a rough cutout of the symbol. Here's this piece. This is going to be what I call a floating piece. It's going to be glued onto the plexiglass to keep it into place. This is after the grout bit. Got it a lot closer to the stencil. This piece right there. Alright, now I'm going to take my sanding bits, a couple different sizes, smoothen these out and get them ready for paint. Finished sanded. After I used the sanding Dremel tool, I went ahead and hand sanded it. As you can see, left plenty of room for the plexiglass. That was a little close, but closer than I wanted it, but it'll have to work. The O in Xbox is a big bump on the back, and also with these little ridges that I broke off with the pliers. I'm going to go through with a sanding disc, 120 grit. I'll make light work of those things. Alright, got that stuff sanded down. I put a piece of Frisket, which is basically really large masking tape. Put that over here to keep the pieces together, getting it ready for airbrush. And if you can see, all these ribs that were there are now flush, and where that O and Xbox was sticking out, that's all flat now. Sanded all that down. Okay, now another thing I did, which I didn't mention earlier, is covering up or filling in the Xbox 360. And what I use for that, excuse me, is Tester's contour putty. It's kind of like how they use Bondo. You kind of use it the same way. Takes longer to dry, but it's cheap and it works really good. To get the other pieces ready for paint, what I'm going to do is take my X-Acto knife, cut these off flush. This will pop right off. Take the clear part out, put the button back on, put some tape over it. That way this is still on there when I do the airbrushing, and I can just continue right over it to where all the designs match up. And just like I did with these, I'm going to do with these. Got one here, one here. This one's a little bit trickier to get to. Then I just push it down and this pops right out. That way I don't have to mask this or anything like that. Just paint over it. And customer also wants a DVD drive window cut out. So what I do to do that is I just take the grout bit again and I just grind off these little tabs here. This piece will come out, and I'll get the sanding tool again, just smooth all that out, do some hand sanding. Okay, and for this piece I'll get the cutting disc again and just cut it off there so this bar right here doesn't get in the way of the window. Also going to be putting a green light in here to match the symbol on the cover. Alright, got that done. Got the window cut out. Got the bracket cut out. Got it all sanded, ready for paint. With this, you really don't want to put any heavy spray paint over the power symbol or the light won't shine through it. So what I'm probably going to do is when I put my flat white over everything to get it ready for airbrushing, what I'm probably going to do is pop this out again, do the flat white on the whole thing, sand this, just scuff this up a little bit since it's going to be white anyway. That way the airbrush will stick to it also. And I'm using transparent airbrush paint, so the center power symbol will light up. And we're not changing the lights in the power button since it's going to be green to match the symbol on the cover and to match the green in the hard drive. And after I get all this stuff sanded, I'm going to wash it with dish soap to get rid of any greasy residue from the fingers or anything like that. Let it dry and it'll be ready for paint.